Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever looked at a crazy situation and thought, there is absolutely no way that just happened by chance? Well, welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to explore the mathematics of coincidence. We're going to take a very everyday, relatable mystery from a school classroom and use it to unpack a pretty profound philosophical argument about the cosmos we actually live in. It's this fascinating journey from the micro scale of our daily lives straight to the macro scale of the universe, and it's all driven by structured data and hard logic. Part 1. The Classroom Coincidence. Picture this. It's after hours, a quiet classroom. A teacher is grading a stack of math exams. And boom, spots a massive red flag. We've got student A's exam and student B's exam. Look closely at the answers they provided. Not only did both students get the question wrong, but they wrote down the exact same incorrect answer. It isn't just, a similar mathematical mistake. It is an identical, highly specific error staring the teacher right in the face.
So I want you to ask yourself, is this just a massive coincidence? Or do these identical wrong answers point to a common source? Do they both just happen to arrive at the exact same bizarre conclusion completely independently? Or did one person definitely look at the other's paper? We need to think like a detective here. We've got a puzzle to solve together, and the clues are right in front of us.
Part 2. Unmasking statistical overlap. To really solve this, we can't just rely on a gut feeling, right? We need statistical certainty. So let's walk through the deduction process. Step 1. They have the same wrong answer. Okay, on its own, maybe, just maybe, that's a coincidence. But then look at step 2. They used the exact same strange phrasing to justify that wrong answer. And step 3, the smudge marks and the exact spot where they wrote it on the page perfectly aligned. You see, every new overlapping detail compounds. With each new layer of similarity, the idea that these two students arrived at this exact same bizarre result independently becomes highly, highly unlikely.
What we're actually doing here is applying a formal scientific concept. It's called independent source correlation testing. As defined, this is a statistical method where overlapping details indicate a common source rather than an implausible coincidence. In basic statistics, when you have deeply correlated data, like our identical wrong test answers, the math literally tells us to look for a single common origin. We're grounding our everyday classroom detective work in the hard, verifiable statistics of data correlation. And this brilliantly illustrates how the probability shifts. When you only have a few overlapping details, say just one shared wrong answer, there's still a high probability that the students worked independently. It happens. But when you have many overlapping details, same wrong answer, same words, same exact spot, the probability of independence completely plummets. It drops essentially to 0. The statistical overlap absolutely forces the conclusion of a shared source.
Part 3. Scaling to the cosmos.
Let's take a breath here. We've solved the microscale mystery, but the source material takes this exact mathematical logic and applies it to a much larger canvas, the entire universe. Now, what's really interesting to see here is how a prominent commentator translates the statistical concept into philosophy, stating, the best of creators points not to multiple creators, but to one power at the most excellent creative level. The source text impartially applies the exact same statistical logic we just used on the cheating students directly to the universe. The argument being made is that this specific phrasing doesn't imply a crowded room of competing forces, but rather a singular, unified power operating at the highest level of design. To really understand that argument, we have to look at the data of the cosmos itself. The universe exhibits an incredibly complex, overlapping order at every single scale. From the precise, predictable behavior of microscopic atoms to the massive orbital mechanics of galaxies, the rules of the universe overlap perfectly. Just like the matching details on those 2 exam papers, the physical laws of our reality share identical interwoven patterns literally everywhere you look. Let's move to and see how this builds a powerful visual rhyme. Think about our microscale, the overlapping exam details that proved the students did not work independently. Now compare that to our macro scale, the overlapping universal constants, things like gravity, electromagnetism, the periodic table of elements. The source material maps the exact logic from the cheating students directly to the overarching constants of nature. If highly correlated data means a single source in a classroom, the argument suggests it must mean the exact same thing for the very fabric of reality.
Part 4. The single source trace.
So the crucial point is, we're now at the place where we can synthesize these concepts into a final deduction. First,
If just two overlapping exam papers are enough to definitively force a common source conclusion, then the universe's massive, infinitely complex overlap signals a far stronger case for one source. The commentator's logic is that the sheer volume of perfectly correlated data in our universe points away from multiple creators and powerfully toward a single unified source.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway of today's explainer. Overlap isn't coincidence's mark. It's the trace of a common source. This is the foundational rule of independent source correlation testing. Whether you're a teacher looking at test papers, a statistician crunching data, or a philosopher looking up at the stars, highly correlated overlap is the ultimate fingerprint. It's the undeniable trace that something didn't just happen randomly. So, if we refuse to accept implausible coincidences in a simple classroom, if we immediately demand a common source for two matching math tests, why would we accept implausible coincidence in the vastness, the complexity, and the perfect overlapping order of the cosmos? It's a question that leaves us to deeply ponder the logical scale of our very existence. Thank you for diving into this explainer with me. Keep analyzing the data, keep asking the big questions, and I'll see you next time.